Happy April 1st. Happy April 1st. Happy April 1st. Today it's Saturday. This is the first time I'm doing the color of the month on the weekend. So I was all discombobulated a little bit this morning. Happy Saturday. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic April. It is I think like 69 degrees outside today, so we're going to keep this short and sweet so I can get out there and get a little bit of the sunshine on my face. Um so first off, let me just say hello. Hi Instagram. All right. Hey everybody. So here's the deal. For those of you who are signed up for the color of the month, let me just introduce the white elephant. White is the color of the month for April. I cannot wait to dive into this. So, for those of you who did not get your email this morning, I sincerely apologize. We're just ran into a couple of issues with it, so it will be out on Monday. So I'm going to cover some of the things today, so that you get a good juicy bit, and then you'll get some things. You'll get your normal things that you get. There's a beautiful runway show where we talk about different textures and different shades, and all the goodies, ways to wear it, and all that stuff that you typically get in the email. So I apologize. You will get that on Monday. So today we are talking about the color white. I mean, did you guys see all of the beautiful, gorgeous white gowns that were hitting the Oscars this year? And even the red carpet was what they tried to decide to go with, like a champagne color, right? And so it is still a very relevant color for the season. It always is. That sounds odd, right? Because it's classic, it never goes out of style, but there's still something about it that, we'll get into that in a minute. But the minimalism of it, the modernness of it, the luxury of it all. And like last month when we were talking about the color black, where it absorbs all the light, where white refracts, not refracts, but it just illuminates the white. And so um even I was thinking about white on camera today, and when I worked in television, it was all about, like, if someone wanted to wear white, it was like, wear ivory because it's still going to read white on camera. And so, as I have on an ivory top today and white earrings, and when you see it on the HD camera, it looks white. And so that's just a little television trick for you, because most producers will probably dissuade you from wearing black and white for those reasons. So let's get into it. So really quick, well, you know what? I'll get back to the red carpet in a minute. So, as I said, we're talking about the color white today. For those of you who are just joining, here we go. My name is Toy Sweeney. I'm the founder of the Well Dressed brand, author of the book Secrets of a Well Dressed Brand, where I do take a little bit of an overview in the book about color and why it matters. The reason that we're talking about it this year and choosing a different color every month to take a deeper dive into it is because color is something that surrounds us all the time. It can sway thinking. Um, and that sounds kind of manipulative, but it just really subconsciously plants things in the minds of people. We talked about in January, about the color pink. In February, we talked about blue and how blue is the favorite color, and it builds trust in the mind of your clients and consumers, or if you're going for an interview. And so white has many symbolic and psychological meanings across different cultures and contexts. And so that I think most colors are that way, as we've been talking about so many of them. We're finding out about different cultures and how they use the color. So white is commonly associated with purity and innocence, perhaps due to the association with like weddings and christening gowns. And things like that. It's about simplicity and minimalism. White is often used as the minimalist, as I said earlier, modern designed. It's clean and it's simple, and it leans itself into the mindset of just uncluttering, right? And so I was thinking about the fact that when I was looking at the color white to talk about it this month, I was thinking about how it represents this kind of wholeness and this uncluttering. And for most of you, or some of you may know, I talk about it enough, um, that, we've obviously moved 3 times in 3 years. I talk about that. And so as we've been in our house for a couple of months, like 8 months, I think this will be the ninth month that we're in our house. And so one of the things that I did, and my husband was like, I want color, color, color. And I was like, okay, just trust me. I'm going to add some color in. But then think about white in that blank canvas, right? It's the color of new beginnings. And so one of the things that, I wanted to do was to paint all of the walls white. And as you can see, behind me, the wall's white. And so for that reason, because I knew it was going to be a great blank slate to add color on top of. And so I was reflecting yesterday because just a few days ago in upstate New York, it was snowing. Snowing is always snowing, like every other day, except for today. It's gorgeous. Um, it's always snowing. But one of the things that I love about our home is we have these huge picturesque windows. And so my living room specifically is just different shades of wood and white and taupe and, just creams and different textures and things like that. And so when you're looking out and you're seeing this gorgeous fall and the warmth of the deer, you're walking through your yard and all of these things, it's so beautiful and picturesque, and it gives you such a sense of calm, which is again one of the things that the color white represents. And so yes, and so I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I know that white is not good in Asian cultures, but we're going to talk about all the different cultures in a second. And so white also represents peace and tranquility. White can evoke feelings of, um, the reason that can, when you think about the healthcare system sometimes, and the fact that they use it in spas, right? Because it's supposed to give you that feeling of peace and tranquility, holiness, spirituality. White can also um, have a different connotation in many different religions, which we'll get to in a second. But when I think of white, I think about three things. I think about, and I won't go into all of them today because I did talk a lot about this in the newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, make sure that you go over to toysweeney.com and sign up for the newsletter. And you will get that on Monday. So if you haven't done it yet, it's coming. And then I take an even deeper dive into these things. But one of the things that I do talk about in the newsletter is in 2001 when Apple came out with the iPad and they released all of their white packaging. So for those of you who are white, who are white, I was going to say white users, who are Apple users, you're familiar with what I'm talking about because it's the modernness and the sleekness of that design. And as we're talking about new beginnings and, and all of these different things, doesn't it make sense that, that their brand mantra is think different? And so I talk about that in my book, also Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. And if you haven't picked that up on Amazon, please go and pick it up today. But, and I'm talking about all of these different things in that, but I always think about Apple because you think about it in the sea of black headphones, right? They introduced this color that was luxury and clean and modern and just kind of this new beginning. And so it really really was something that set them apart from different things. And we talked about different ways to make your brand relevant yesterday, and this lends itself to that. And we talked about different is better than better being that fascination matter. So packaging, right, is not new, but the way that they did it in 2001 when they released the iPad was something that was very fresh. I was also recalling a story that a friend of mine told me years ago about she was interviewing, excuse me, for this job. And so typically when you're thinking about a job interview, depending on what you do for a living, if you're more in a creative environment, this certainly will be different. But she was telling me that she showed up for this interview and everyone was in their dark gray, black, navy blue suits. And this woman walked in and she was in all ivory head to toe. And so she was thinking about, wow, like she was stunning and it made such an impact on her. I can only imagine the impact that it made on the people who were interviewing her, right? Because again, we're talking about light and we're talking about peace and the simplicity, and just I'm curious as to what she was trying to say, right? Because it was like luxury, and that I might be a step ahead of these people, but really I think that what she was communicating was what was fascinating about her, going back to the fascination advantage, that different is better than better. So I thought that was um, kind of cool. So white, as we talked about, is really considered not a color, just like black that we talked about last month, because from a science perspective, white is, again, the absence of color, but rather it presents all of the colors. Isn't that kind of interesting? When we see a white object, it is because it reflects all of the light that it hits rather than absorbing it again. It's a blank canvas, it's pure, it's untouched. And so those are the kind of things that we think about. So let's talk a little bit about the different cultures. So in the Japanese culture, white is associated with mourning and is traditionally worn as funeral clothes. However, white is also associated with purity, simplicity, and new beginnings. In India, white is associated with, again, purity and is the color of mourning. For some Hindus, the root of this traditions is the belief that white is the color of afterlife or a rebirth. And I'm obviously not from these cultures, and so this is just based on the research that I did. So please chime in if you say no, in my culture it represents this, because I love to learn and I love to know about these different things. In China, white can symbolize mourning. It's also associated again with purity, innocence, and creativity. In the Egyptian culture, white has an association. With the goddess Isis, and a symbol of birth, purity, and power. And so in the African culture, white is associated with peace and divinity. Purity often is used in traditional dress for religious ceremonies. It represents value, harmony, balance, light. In many cultures is, and that is just for many cultures. It seems like there are some things that cross over. Um, but again, in many cultures, again, it could just be something very different. In some cultures, it's again about creativity and peace. So that's really what and I think that that's so interesting, because we talked about last month when we were talking about black, how it's a very complex color. And who decided that we can't wear white after Labor Day, right? And so that's one of those rules that if you haven't by now unlearned that, it's definitely a great time for you to unlearn that. So let's just throw that aside. I think that most of you who are into style and fashion understand that that is a very, very dated rule, that we are wearing all colors, all across the, all times of the year. I shared with you last month about how, it is not uncommon for me to be in head to toe black in the middle of summer. Um, and so with that, it started in like the 20th century, where the wealthy folks would go away, to summer, and they would come back right before or in the midst of the, not in the midst, but right as the fall season started. And so they kind of started this very elitist attitude about, oh, like, oh, you're wearing white, like we've already done. Um, and so that is, where it came from, like, oh, you don't wear white, it's after Labor Day. How did, that's for the poor, kind of a thing. And so that was where it started. And so I was talking to a family member of mine, and she was saying that she doesn't wear white sneakers in the winter. And I was like, that's, I never thought about that. She's like, yeah, I look for ivory ones. And I was like, oh, I don't care. As it started for fall and it wasn't quite so cold yet that you needed your boots, I was still wearing, all black with, with my white, slide in leopard print and metallic and white sneakers, like mostly white sneakers though. So I thought that was very interesting. You're saying you don't have the newsletter. So yes, the newsletter will go out on April 3rd, which was Monday. I apologize that we got it behind it a little bit late this week. There were some things going on. And so the person that usually helps me with that is Joe. It was certainly a strategy of mine. And so I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm so excited to learn along with you this month as we're talking about the different color. And even for the Well Dressed Brand Shop, as you see, my little weekender bags are white as well. They don't come in any other. Well, I added some colors actually. I did add some other colors that I played around with, but this one is white with the gold metallic with my signature, and I love that one. I typically carry that as my beach bag in the summer. I toss it white. I toss it right in the washer, a little bit of OxyClean if it gets dirty, and it comes right out. And so that's that. And I was gonna wear this little ivory leather jacket. Oh, you can't see it on Instagram, but you can see it everywhere else. This is what I was gonna wear today, but I was so in love with this. That was my plan. It's just this leather jacket, little leather blazer. I have been planning for months to wear that, but I decided it's Saturday. Let's be a little loose, and I wanted to show off my Agenda Design earrings, and so I ordered this off-the-shoulder sweater, and I have a little confession. I put the sweater on upside down because it is designed to wear more of like a cow neck, or you can wear it off the shoulders, but it wasn't going off the shoulder as much as I liked. So I put it on accidentally upside down and loved it. So the true stylist in me, I'm wearing my sweater upside down. Yeah. So yeah, I'll give you the details for the sweater. I think it's JAI. It's like, and it comes in so many colors. I think it's a perfect transitional piece. Like I will wear this with shorts going into summer because the weather in upstate New York can be so disrespectful. So like it's gonna drop. It's 70 right now. It's gonna drop down to 40 later. It doesn't get super hot here for the summer. Um, and it is not uncommon for it to be snowing tomorrow. So you have to really know how to dress when you live here. It's what I'm learning after being here for a little over a year. All right. So, all right. That concludes our time for the day. Thank you guys so much for being attentive. Um, I'm excited to dive into this with you. Again, if you have not picked up The Secrets of the Well-Dressed Brand, head over to Amazon to get your copy of my book. And then also make sure you sign up for the newsletter. I want you to get the full experience. So make sure that you are also following me on Instagram. And all my Instagram people with the white hearts. Yes, this is what we've been doing. We've been having so much fun.